Hello, my name is Talita Feuerstein, and this is the Dentist Onboarding and Training Program that I created. So before I get into it, let me give you a little bit of background. I work for a company called New England Dental Partners, and we manage dental offices. And last year we had an immersion program in collaboration with Tufts Dental University, which is a local dental school. And what we did was host international students for the dental school with the goal of giving them a little bit of an inside information on how a dental office is run in the United States and what expectations, we would have from a dentist. These are already graduated dentists in their country of origin, and then they have to attend this 2-year program in order to be able to practice in the U.S. So during the program and after the program, myself and the rest of the business leadership team realized that it was great that we spent that time exposing these students to what it was like to run an office in the U.S. But at the same rate, we didn't spend enough time exposing our new associates to how the business was run and the philosophy of patient care. So as a team, we decided that we needed an onboarding program for our newly hired associate dentists. Even though we have a good mix of brand new out-of-school associates and some more seasoned clinicians, what they have in common is the fact that they are new to our company. So we need to expose them to how we do business. So for this particular project, I did a project needs analysis. And the main issue that we were trying to resolve with this learning experience is the fact that these clinicians are very well trained in their clinical skills in school, but they really don't have a lot of training on customer service or team collaboration or even any business training. So we wanted to provide them with a little bit of our doctor's philosophy of patient care, a little bit of how we conduct the business on a day-to-day basis, how their actions affect the rest of the team, ways of communication to help them collaborate better with the team, and some basic administrative tasks that they need to do on their day-to-day. And the reason that these are problems that we needed to solve are because we're spending a lot of time being reactive about issues as opposed to being proactive. And we need all the team members to understand how their actions affect the rest of the team. And we need to maintain a certain level of integrity for our financial and clinical records. I also created a project charter to help guide me through this entire project. This was the first project that I worked on that I created a full-blown storyboard, which helped me tremendously stay focused on the learning outcomes and how everything that I was planning would relate directly back to those learning outcomes. It also helped me organize my materials, knowing the assets that I needed to create, assets that I already had, and the ones that I needed to tweak. I also, for the first time, created a separate scripts file so that I could script the entire narration of the module, and that helped me be a lot more efficient with recording those audios, editing and producing them. It also helped me then add closed captions very efficiently to the entire project. And I created my own little system of color coding the script so that I knew which ones needed to be recorded, which ones needed to be re-recorded, which ones I had already used for adding the closed caption. So that really helped me stay focused and disciplined to complete all the outputs that I needed to. I then created just a skeleton of the project and storyline just to get an idea of how many modules we were going to really end up with, if there was any tweaking that I needed to do on the storyboard, and created the entire project using Storyline Articulate 360. There were other tools that I used as well. Obviously, for the audio, I used Audiate. I used Camtasia for my video recording and editing and producing. I also used Toonly and Doodly for my animations, and I use Snagit quite a bit for screenshots and image editing. Looking back at the project charter, there were just a couple of things that changed, which I was quite pleased that the scope of the project changed a bit, but I had planned for a 4-hour training module, and we ended up with a 2-hour training module, which turns out to be a lot better for our learners as they don't have enough time to sit down and take these courses during business hours. We would rather them being seeing patients and producing revenue, obviously. And the other thing that was a little different was there were some assets we already had that we were thinking of reutilizing, and we had tweaked them quite a bit more than anticipated. So that took a little bit more time than expected. Other than that, the overall project stayed quite within the scope that was originally planned. The high-level project description, not much changed there. And the stakeholder was quite pleased with what we came up with. So I'm quite a stickler for brand integrity. So one thing I always keep in mind when producing these courses is to stick with brand image. So I try to use colors and fonts and the overall look that agrees with the brand. Another thing that I try to stick to very closely were multimedia learning principles. So I adhere to the coherence principle by not using too many extraneous material. I use quite a bit of signaling to guide the learner throughout the user interface. I also segmented the material and the way that things happen throughout the day for these doctors. So, for example, first you clock in, then you have a huddle, then you see patients. And that's kind of how the program was segmented throughout the modules. I also make sure I adhere to the personalization principle. So my narrations are quite conversational and polite, and I use my own voice in almost all the narrations. You can click on the green magnifying glass icons below to enlarge those areas of the image. To see how you would download and install the mobile app, click Next. But whenever possible, I used my SME's voice or had them on video as well. Let's take a listen.
First of all, it has to be the same note for absolutely everybody. So it's not just insurance, we just have to have a complete note for everybody. So
during this term, I was quite pleased in having my buddy Mike as one of my peers. He is a more seasoned instructional designer, so I've learned quite a lot from just doing projects with him. And especially for this project, I got quite a bit of inspiration from seeing the way he works and by looking at his own work. I completely changed the overall design once I saw some of his work that looked very crisp and clean and professional. So I went back and changed my template as well. And based on some of his feedback, some of the stakeholders' feedback, some of the Professor Kane's feedback, I went back to my original design and I try to do more. So, for example, I had no idea what an accordion interactive was. And by Dr. Kane mentioning that, I had to look it up and I learned and I created, a few slides with that. And I was quite pleased with the result. So, overall, it was an amazing experience with learning a lot. Being more disciplined with how I went about the entire project. It was a team of one, so I didn't get to experience what it was like to work with, a separate designer or a separate developer. But at the same time, I understand what I would need to do if I were to be part of a bigger design team. Obviously, for this project, it was quite a bit of a crunch time with the 10 weeks from beginning to end. And I feel like I would have made different choices had I had a little bit more time, but that also is a great opportunity to make changes on a second iteration of the course. And because it is for my own company, I will still have that opportunity to go back and improve on great training module. I also realized what my weaknesses are, what I need to spend more time learning. My goal is to take what I've learned for the last 2 years and go back to LinkedIn and instructional designer groups and learn more and use these projects that I've already completed and kind of transform them with the new information that I get and just continue to prepare myself for that next opportunity where I could become an instructional designer or a user experience designer full time. And that would be my profession for the next 20 years of my career.